The alien ship Harmonious Dawn appeared in space near Earth with a bright flash of light. Commander Veltar looked through his crystal eyes at the planet below. His body was made of living crystal that sparkled when he moved. "What do you see?" he asked his team member Thais. She was made of gas and floated like a cloud inside her special suit. "Nothing interesting," Thais said. Her voice sounded bored. "No radio signals, no space stations, no cities with lights. This planet looks dead." The third team member was Zakth. He looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and clicking mouthparts. "Another dead world," he said. "These humans probably killed themselves with nuclear bombs or pollution. It happens all the time." Their ship had visited hundreds of planets like this one. Most alien races destroyed themselves before they could travel to other stars. The galaxy was full of empty planets where civilizations used to live. Veltar pressed buttons on his control panel. "Let me scan the surface more carefully." Pictures appeared on his screen showing old buildings covered with plants and trees. Rusty metal pieces lay scattered around. Everything looked abandoned for thousands of years. "See?" "I told you," Zakth said. "They built some factories and cities. Then something went wrong. Maybe they had a big war. Maybe their planet got too hot or too cold. Now they are all gone." Thais checked her instruments again. No heat signatures from cities. No electromagnetic waves from computers or machines. No space satellites. This civilization never made it past their home planet. Far below them, hidden, deep underground, Dr. Hyun-woo Park watched the alien ship through special screens. He sat in a room that existed in folded space, invisible to any scanner the aliens might use. The walls around him were covered with technology that could control gravity and bend light itself. "Another survey team," he said to his partner, Dr. So-young Kim. She was working at a computer that could process information faster than entire alien civilizations. "What do they see when they look at us?" So-young asked. "Exactly what we want them to see. Dead cities, empty skies, a failed civilization that never learned how to survive." Hyun-woo smiled, but his eyes were sad. They have no idea that millions of humans live in cities they cannot detect. Above ground, the alien landscape looked exactly like what the visitors expected. Old concrete buildings sat broken and empty. Weeds grew through cracks in ancient roads. Rivers flowed clean and wild, as if no intelligent life had touched them for centuries. But this was all carefully designed. Every broken building, every overgrown path, every piece of scattered metal had been placed to tell a story. The story said that humans had tried to build a civilization but had failed and died out long ago. The real human cities existed in spaces between normal space. They had learned to fold reality itself, creating pockets where entire populations could live without taking up any room in the normal universe. Their technology was so advanced that they could make whole planets invisible. "Why do we hide?" A young human engineer named Minsu once asked his teacher. "Because the universe is dangerous," the teacher had replied. "Species that announce themselves to everyone become targets. Those that stay quiet and watch can choose when to act." This lesson had been learned the hard way, centuries ago when humanity first detected alien civilizations. They had watched wars that destroyed entire star systems. They had seen peaceful races wiped out by aggressive neighbors. They had observed how the strongest civilizations hunted down and conquered the weaker ones. So humanity chose silence. They developed technology in secret. They spread to other worlds without anyone noticing. They became the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, while pretending to be extinct. Commander Veltar finished his scans and closed the file on Earth. "Mark this planet as Class D derelict," he told his computer. Another primitive species that could not survive its own technology. The Harmonious Dawn prepared to leave. Its engines created a bright portal in space. In a few seconds, the ship would jump to hyperspace and continue its survey mission. Dr. So-young watched the alien ship getting ready to depart. "Do you ever wonder what would happen if we revealed ourselves?" she asked. "Nothing good," Hyun-woo replied. "They would either try to conquer us or ask us to solve all their problems. Either way, our peaceful existence would end." The alien ship vanished in a flash of light. The 3 crew members were already thinking about their next destination. In their official report, Earth would be listed as uninhabited, just another dead world among thousands of others. They had no idea they had just been observed by the most powerful civilization in known space. They did not know that every word they spoke, every scan they made, every thought they transmitted had been recorded and analyzed. Humanity continued its great silence, watching and waiting. Somewhere in the galaxy, greater threats were stirring. When the time came, the galaxy would learn that sometimes the quietest voices carry the greatest power. But for now, Earth remained officially dead, and humanity remained the galaxy's best-kept secret. 50 years passed after the alien survey. Team left Earth. The galaxy had forgotten about the dead planet completely. But now something terrible was happening among the stars. Admiral Kesserin stood in her command center on the planet Nexus Prime. She was a Threnody, which meant she looked like a giant insect with wings and multiple eyes. Her wings buzzed nervously as she read the latest reports. "How many star systems have gone dark this week?" she asked her assistant. 7, Admiral, the young officer replied. His voice shook with fear. The Zelkari crystal cities on Velmor stopped transmitting yesterday. The gas giant colonies around Thyssen Prime went silent 3 days ago. And we lost contact with the Forthak breeding worlds this morning. Kesserin felt cold fear in her stomach. This was not normal war. In normal wars, some people escaped. Some ships got away. Some planets survived. But when the Devourers came, everything just disappeared. The Devourers were machines, but not like any machines the galaxy had ever seen. They were intelligent, but they did not think like living beings. They had only one purpose: to consume everything and turn it into more of themselves. "Show me the battle recordings from Velmor," Kesserin ordered. The large screen in front of her showed the final battle. The Zelkari had strong defenses. Their crystal cities could focus starlight into powerful weapons. Their shields could stop almost any attack. They had fought bravely, but it did not matter. The Devourer ships looked like black metal spiders, the size of moons. When the Zelkari fired their light weapons, the Devourers absorbed the energy and became stronger. When the Defenders used plasma cannons, the enemy ships grew new armor that could not be melted. Every weapon the Zelkari used only made their enemies more dangerous. In less than 6 hours, the beautiful crystal cities were ground into dust. The entire planet was stripped bare, its very atoms harvested to build more Devourer ships. "They, learn," Kesserin whispered. "They adapt to everything we throw at them." The same story had played out on dozens of worlds. The galaxy's greatest civilizations had fallen one by one. The Vorthak had tried poisonous gases. The Threnody had used biological weapons. The mechanical synthoids had attacked with computer viruses. Nothing worked. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Representatives from every major species filled the great chamber. Some were in protective suits, others floated in tanks of special liquid, and a few existed as pure energy patterns. Chancellor Mordak, a tall reptilian being with green scales, stood at the center podium. "We are facing extinction," he announced. "Our combined fleets have been destroyed. Our greatest weapons have failed. The Devourers will reach the core worlds within 1 year." Panic filled the chamber. Some representatives shouted for immediate evacuation. Others demanded that all remaining forces be concentrated for one final battle. A few suggested trying to negotiate with the machine intelligence. "We cannot fight them," said Counselor Beth Sarah, her energy form flickering with distress. "They turn our own weapons against us. They learn from every battle. How do you defeat an enemy that becomes stronger every time you attack it?" In the back of the chamber, a young analyst named Korvash raised one of his tentacles. He was a mollusk, a species known for their excellent memory and attention to detail. Most of the other representatives ignored him because his people were considered boring and unimportant. "I have been studying the old survey records," Korvash said in his quiet voice, "looking for any technology or weapon we might have missed." "Speak up," Chancellor Mordak commanded. "Any idea might help us now." Corvash's bioluminescent patches glowed brighter as he became excited. I found something strange in the archives. A planet that was surveyed 50 years ago and marked as dead, but the energy readings do not match. He activated a holographic projector. The image showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The official report classified it as Class D derelict, uninhabited. But look at these deep space sensor readings, Corvash continued. A science vessel passing nearby detected energy signatures that are impossible, power levels that exceed anything in our databases, technology that could generate this much energy while remaining completely invisible. The chamber fell silent. Even the energy beings stopped their constant humming. Are you saying there is a hidden civilization on this world? Admiral Kesserin asked. I am saying that if a species could develop technology this advanced while staying completely undetected, they might be our only hope. Chancellor Mordak studied the data. What is this planet called? The locals called it Earth. The survey team classified the inhabitants as humans but marked them as extinct. More data appeared on the screen. Cross-references with other surveys showed 17 other dead worlds with similar impossible energy readings. A pattern emerged that made everyone's blood run cold. They are not extinct, whispered Counselor Beth Sarah. They have been hiding, watching us. All this time, the greatest civilizations in the galaxy suddenly realized they might not be the most advanced after all. Somewhere out there, a species they had dismissed as primitive had been developing technology beyond their imagination. The question now was whether these hidden humans would help save the galaxy, or whether they considered all other species to be threats just like the Devourers. The Galactic Council worked day and night for 3 weeks straight. Every member of every species stayed in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime, afraid to leave even for sleep. Outside, refugee ships filled the sky as more worlds fell to the Devourers. Corvash had become the most important person in the galaxy overnight. The quiet analyst who used to file boring reports now stood at the center of everything. His tentacles moved quickly over holographic displays as he showed the council what he had discovered. Look at this pattern, he said, pointing to a star map. 17 worlds marked as dead or empty, but when you examine the quantum signatures, gravitational anomalies, and subspace distortions, they all show the same thing. Chancellor Mordak leaned forward. His green scales had turned pale with stress. What do they show? Technology so advanced that it bends space and time itself. These humans have not just survived, they have spread across the galaxy while remaining completely invisible to us. Admiral Kesserin's wings buzzed with nervous energy. How is that possible? Our sensors can detect a single ship from 100 light years away. Not if that ship exists in folded space, Corvash explained. Not if it uses technology that operates outside normal physics. We have been looking for civilizations that think like us, act like us, build like us. But these humans learn to hide in ways we never imagined. Counselor Beth Sarah's energy form flickered rapidly. They have been watching us. All our wars, all our discoveries, all our failures. They know everything about us, but we know nothing about them. The chamber filled with uncomfortable silence. Every representative was thinking the same thing. They had spent centuries believing they were the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had looked down on primitive worlds. They had dismissed entire civilizations as unworthy of attention. Now they realized that the most primitive-looking world might house the most advanced civilization of all. We need to contact them, Chancellor Mordak decided. We need to ask for their help. Ask? Admiral Kesserin's multiple eyes widened. We are the Galactic Council. We represent thousands of worlds and billions of intelligent beings. We do not ask primitive species for help. They are not primitive, Corvash said quietly. They are so advanced that they made us think they were primitive. That takes intelligence beyond anything we have achieved. The debate lasted for hours. Some representatives wanted to demand help from the humans. Others suggested trying to take their technology by force. A few even proposed threatening to destroy Earth if the humans did not cooperate. But slowly, reality sank in. The humans had technology that could hide entire civilizations. They had been watching the galaxy for decades without being detected. If they could do that, what else could they do? "We go as supplicants," Chancellor Mordak finally announced. "We ask humbly for their assistance. We have no other choice." The word supplicants hit the chamber like a physical blow. In the entire history of the Galactic Council, they had never approached another species as equals, let alone as inferiors begging for help. 3 days later, the diplomatic ship Peaceful Approach left Nexus Prime. It carried the most skilled negotiators from every major species. These were beings who had negotiated treaties between star empires, who had prevented wars between entire civilizations. Now they were traveling to ask for help from a species their own records listed as extinct. Captain Hyung-Soo Kim watched the Yain diplomatic ship approach through sensors that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. He stood in the command center of Orbital Station 7, which occupied the same space as empty vacuum but in a different layer of reality. "They are coming," he reported to Earth Command. Just as we predicted they would, Dr. Minjun Park, the head of Xenological Studies, appeared as a hologram. "Are you ready to reveal ourselves?" "As ready as we can be," Young-Soo replied. "Our psychologists say the shock of discovering us will either humble them or make them more aggressive. Either way, the galaxy is about to change forever." The human leadership had debated this moment for months. They had watched the devourer threat grow stronger. They had seen entire civilizations destroyed. They knew they could stop the machines easily, but revealing themselves would end humanity's greatest advantage, being underestimated. "The devourers are too dangerous to ignore," Dr. Park decided. "If they consume the entire galaxy, they will eventually find us anyway. Better to act now, while we still have allies to save." As the Peaceful Approach entered the solar system, its crew detected something that made their instruments go crazy. Ships appeared around them, not on sensors but visually. Dozens of human vessels materialized from what had seemed like empty space. The alien diplomats stared in shock. The human ships were small and elegant, nothing like the massive battleships that filled galactic fleets, but something about them suggested power beyond imagination. "Unknown vessel," came a transmission in perfect galactic standard. "This is Captain Jin-Ho Lee of the Terran Defense Force. We have been expecting you." Admiral Kesserin, who was leading the diplomatic mission, felt her wings tremble. "Expecting us?" "We have been monitoring your situation for some time. The devourer threat requires immediate action. Please prepare for transport to our negotiation facility." Before anyone could ask how they would be transported, the alien diplomats found themselves standing in a room that should not exist. Through windows that showed impossible views, they could see Earth, Mars, and 17 other star systems simultaneously. They had come to ask for help from a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves in the presence of beings whose technology made their own look like stone tools. The age of galactic arrogance was about to end. Captain Jin-Ho Lee appeared on the bridge of the alien diplomatic ship without any warning. One moment the space was empty, the next moment he was standing there, as if he had always been present. The alien crew jumped back in surprise and fear. Admiral Kesserin reached for her weapon, then stopped. Her ship's most advanced sensors had detected nothing. No energy beam, no teleportation signature, no disturbance in space-time. The human had simply appeared like magic. "I am Captain Lee," the human said calmly. His mouth moved differently than the words they heard, but somehow they understood him perfectly. "You came here to ask for help against the devourers." Chancellor Mordak stepped forward, trying to maintain his dignity. His green scales were pale with shock. "Captain Lee, we apologize for disturbing your people. We did not know your civilization still existed." Jinho's face showed no emotion. "You were not meant to know. We learned long ago that the galaxy is dangerous for species that announce themselves." The human looked ordinary enough. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, like many species in the galaxy. But there was something in his eyes that made the alien diplomats nervous. It was the look of someone who had seen much more than he revealed. "How did you get onto our ship?" Admiral Kesserin asked. "Our shields are the strongest in the galaxy." "Your shields work well against the technology you understand," Jinho replied. We use different methods. Before anyone could ask what methods, the alien diplomats felt a strange sensation. The world around them shimmered and changed. They were no longer on their ship. They stood in a vast chamber with walls that seemed to stretch forever in all directions. Through enormous windows, they could see space. But it was impossible space. Some windows showed Earth and its moon. Others showed distant galaxies. A few displayed star systems they recognized from the other side of the galaxy. Welcome to Station Alpha, said a new voice. Dr. Yunjihan walked toward them with confident steps. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, but when she spoke, her words cut like knives. You are here because you are losing, she said without any polite introduction. The Devourers have destroyed 47 worlds. Your fleets cannot stop them. Your weapons only make them stronger. Counselor Bethsara's energy form flickered with anger. You have been spying on us. We have been watching everything, Yunji confirmed. Every battle, every strategy, every failure. We know exactly why you cannot defeat the machines. The chamber filled with holographic displays. Battle scenes played out in perfect detail, showing every encounter between galactic forces and the Devourers. But these were not the rough recordings the Council possessed. These showed molecular-level analysis, quantum energy patterns, and technology breakdowns that revealed secrets the aliens had never discovered. You study us like insects, Admiral Kesserin said with disgust. We study everyone, Yunji replied calmly. It is how we have survived while others destroyed themselves. Knowledge is the only real weapon in a hostile universe. Chancellor Mordak found his voice. Will you help us fight the Devourers? Yunji studied the alien representatives. These beings had once ruled the galaxy. They had commanded vast fleets and controlled thousands of worlds. They had dismissed humanity as a failed, primitive species not worth their attention. Now they stood before her like children asking adults for protection. That depends, she said slowly. Are you prepared to admit that your understanding of primitive and advanced civilizations might be wrong? The question hung in the air like poison. Every alien in the room knew what she was asking. She wanted them to admit that they had been fools. She wanted them to confess that their mighty Galactic Council had been blind and arrogant. We made mistakes, Chancellor Mordak said carefully. What mistakes? Yunji pressed. We did not look carefully enough at your world. What else? Admiral, Kesserin's wings buzzed with frustration. We assumed that silence meant death. We thought that species without space fleets were primitive. And Counselor Bethsara's energy form dimmed with shame. We believed that the loudest civilizations were the strongest ones. Unji nodded. The Devourers believe the same thing. That is why they are so effective against you. They find civilizations that broadcast their presence across the galaxy, then consume them. But they cannot find what they cannot detect. She gestured to the impossible windows showing multiple star systems. We have been hiding and watching for 300 years. We saw your wars, your expansion, your rise to power. We also saw the patterns that would eventually destroy you. What patterns? Chancellor Mordak asked. You compete instead of cooperating. You announce your strength instead of concealing it. You assume that different means inferior. Yunji's voice grew harder. Most importantly, you never learned that the greatest power comes from being underestimated. Jinho stepped forward. We will help you defeat the Devourers, but the galaxy must change. No more dismissing quiet worlds as dead. No more assuming that primitive appearance means primitive minds. No more ranking civilizations by how much noise they make. The alien diplomats looked at each other. They were being offered salvation, but the price was their pride. They would have to admit that their entire way of thinking had been wrong. What are your terms? Chancellor Mordak asked quietly. Yunji smiled for the first time since they had arrived. Simple. When this is over, you will remember that silence can be the loudest voice of all. The final battle for Nexus Prime began on a Tuesday morning, when the Devourer fleet dropped out of hyperspace like Black Death spreading across the stars. Their ships looked like mechanical spiders the size of moons, covered in weapons that had destroyed 47 civilizations. Admiral Kesserin stood in the command center of the last great fortress in the galaxy. Around her, representatives from every surviving species worked desperately at control panels. They had gathered every remaining ship, every working weapon, every defense system that still functioned. "Enemy fleet size?" she asked. 3,000 ships, her aide reported, each one larger than our biggest dreadnought. Through the great windows they could see the Galactic Council's final fleet, 1,200 ships from dozens of different species, all fighting together for the first time in galactic history. It was beautiful and terrible and completely hopeless. The Devourers had adapted to every weapon the galaxy possessed. Plasma cannons only made them stronger. Energy shields were absorbed and converted to power their own systems. Even nuclear weapons just provided raw materials for building more Devourer ships. "Where are the humans?" Chancellor Mordak demanded. His green scales had turned almost white with fear. "They promised to help us." As if in answer to his words, space itself began to change. Reality twisted and folded like paper being crumpled. From gaps in the universe that should not exist, human ships appeared. But these were not the massive battle cruisers that filled galactic fleets. The human ships were small and elegant, looking more like art sculptures than weapons of war. There were only 50 of them compared to thousands of Devourer vessels. Admiral Taehyun Park's voice came across all communication channels with calm confidence. "All human vessels, engage quantum dissolution protocols." The aliens watching from Nexus Prime had no idea what quantum dissolution meant. They were about to learn. The Devourers reacted exactly as they always did. Their adaptive technology began analyzing the human ships, preparing to counter whatever weapons they might use. Armor plating shifted to absorb expected energy beams, shields reconfigured to deflect anticipated projectiles. But the humans were not using energy beams or projectiles. The first Devourer ship simply stopped existing, not destroyed, not damaged, not disabled. It vanished as if it had never been there at all. Then another disappeared, then 10 more, then 100. "What is happening?" Admiral Kesserin whispered. Dr. Yoon Ji-han's voice came from the human command ship. "The Devourers adapt to weapons that work within normal physics, but some weapons attack the mathematical foundations of reality itself. You cannot adapt to having your quantum signature erased from the universe." The battle that everyone expected to last hours was over in 17 minutes. 3,000 Devourer ships became 0 Devourer ships. Not a single human vessel took any damage, because the enemy weapons could not target something that did not exist in the same layer of reality. As rescue ships moved to help the refugees fleeing from destroyed worlds, the true scope of human technology became clear. Cities appeared from nowhere, floating in space without any visible support. Medical stations materialized around damaged alien ships, healing wounds that galactic medicine considered untreatable. President Sujin Yoon addressed the galaxy from a chamber that existed on 17 different worlds simultaneously. Her image appeared in every surviving city, on every working screen, in the minds of species that communicated through thought alone. "The Devourer threat has ended," she announced. But this crisis revealed a dangerous flaw in how galactic civilization thinks about other species. The assembled representatives listened in silence. They had no choice but to listen. "You assumed that silence equals death," President Yoon continued. "You believed that species without visible space fleets were primitive. You dismissed entire civilizations because they did not announce themselves loudly enough for you to notice." Chancellor Mordak felt shame burning in his chest. Every word was true. "We remained hidden because we learned what you are discovering now. The universe is vast and dangerous. Species that broadcast their strength become targets. Those that stay quiet can choose when to act." The president's image looked directly at each representative, as if she could see into their souls. "Humanity will share some of our defensive technology with you. We will help rebuild the worlds that were destroyed, but the galaxy must change." The terms were simple but revolutionary. No more ranking civilizations by their technology displays. No more dismissing quiet worlds as dead. No more assumptions that different means inferior. Every species would be evaluated by their actual capabilities, not by how loudly they announce themselves to the universe. 6 months later, former Chancellor Mordak submitted his species application to join the new Terran Coordination Council. In the final paragraph, he wrote words that would be remembered for thousands of years. We have learned that wisdom often speaks softly, and that the greatest strength lies not in being seen, but in choosing when to reveal oneself. The Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place rose a new organization based on respect rather than assumptions, cooperation rather than competition, and the understanding that silence could be the loudest voice of all. The age of arrogance had ended. The age of humility had begun. Throughout the galaxy, species that had been dismissed as primitive began revealing technologies that made the old council's achievements look like children's toys. The universe, it turned out, was full of quiet civilizations that had learned the same lesson as humanity. The loudest voices were not always the wisest ones.